Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely empty? Like you said yes when you wanted to say no? Like your emotions were played, your choices subtly guided, and your thoughts weren't entirely your own? That quiet unease you feel afterward, that's the echo of manipulation. It doesn't always come from your enemies. More often, it comes from people close to you. The charming friend who always gets their way. The partner who knows how to turn guilt into love. The leader who convinces you that their truth is your own. Manipulation isn't always loud. It's not just deception or aggression. Sometimes it's soft, polite, wrapped in care, and that's what makes it dangerous. Manipulation, at its core, is the silent art of steering perception. It's not just about what's said, it's about what's implied. It's the power to make someone feel what you want them to feel, believe what you want them to believe, and do what you want them to do, all while thinking it was their idea. It's persuasion without honesty, influence without consent, control dressed as connection. And the most chilling part? It works because it uses the same wiring that makes us human. No one is born a manipulator, they're shaped into one. It starts young. Maybe as a child they felt powerless, unseen, unheard. They learned that honesty didn't get results, but guilt did. That kindness didn't move people, but fear did, so they started testing little things. They discovered how to twist words, how to mimic empathy, how to make others bend without noticing. Over time, it becomes instinct. It becomes identity. And soon, they realize something most people never consciously learn. Emotions move faster than logic. If they can control how you feel, they don't need to control what you think. The one who controls emotion controls reality. That's the root psychology of manipulation. Every manipulative act starts with 3 truths about human nature. 1. Emotion overrides reason. We feel before we think. 2. Humans crave connection and approval. We want to belong even when it costs us our boundaries. And 3. We seek certainty. We fear ambiguity, so we cling to anyone who offers clarity, even if it's false. Manipulators don't invent emotions. They exploit them. They play your empathy against you. They use your goodness as leverage. And in a world that rewards charm over truth, the manipulator thrives. They use tools that are simple but devastatingly effective. Guilt, for example, is one of the oldest. When someone says, "After everything I've done for you," or "I thought you cared," they're reframing your independence as cruelty. They're turning your boundaries into betrayal. Because guilt is powerful. It hijacks your empathy, makes you question your right to protect yourself. Manipulators don't need to be right. They just need you to feel wrong. Then there's flattery, but not the shallow kind. Real manipulation uses surgical flattery. It sounds like understanding. You're not like everyone else. You're special. You see things differently. They study your ego, find your need to feel unique, and feed it just enough to lower your defenses. Once you feel seen, you become open. And once you're open, you can be led. Fear is another. Nothing controls the human mind faster. A manipulator might say, "You'll regret it if you don't listen to me," or "No one else will ever love you the way I do." Fear freezes logic. When you're scared, you don't analyze, you obey. It's not persuasion, it's psychological blackmail. And then there's confusion, the quietest and most insidious weapon. They twist words until you doubt your own memory. They mix truth with lies, making you question your sanity. You start to think, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe it's me. That's gaslighting. The slow erosion of your trust in your own perception. And once you stop trusting yourself, you start trusting them. Finally, there's isolation, the end game of all manipulation. Bit by bit, they separate you from friends, from family, from any voice that challenges their control. They make you believe that no one understands you like they do. And when you depend on them emotionally, you're no longer free. They don't need chains, they use attachment. What makes manipulators so effective is that they're incredible observers. They don't just listen to what you say, they study how you say it. They notice your micro-reactions, your tone shifts, your silences. They see which compliments make you blush, which criticisms make you flinch. Every word you share is a piece of data. Every emotion you reveal is a potential weakness. They test boundaries slowly, pushing just enough to see how far they can go. Once they find an opening, they exploit it. To them, people are puzzles, emotional systems to be decoded, predicted, and programmed. And once they learn how your system works, they install control disguised as care. You think you're making free choices, but you're choosing from options they designed. It's an illusion of control. Like a magician offering you two cards, both leading to the same outcome. It's called controlled autonomy. The manipulator lets you feel free because feeling free keeps you compliant. That's how politicians, salespeople, and even loved ones can guide your behavior without you realizing it. They also use something called the reward-punishment cycle. It's the heartbeat of manipulation. First, they make you feel valued, compliments, affection, praise, then suddenly it disappears. They become cold, distant, or disappointed. You start wondering what you did wrong. You crave their approval again, so you try harder, do more, give more. Then they reward you, warmth returns, you feel relief. But that relief becomes addiction. This is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same psychological principle that keeps people hooked on slot machines. Unpredictable rewards create the strongest attachment. Manipulators don't just take control, they make you chase it. The irony is, manipulation doesn't only work on naive people. In fact, intelligent people can be easier to manipulate because smart minds rationalize. They overanalyze behavior, they empathize deeply, and they try to understand. A manipulator feeds that need for understanding, offering half-truths and emotional excuses. You start thinking they didn't mean it, or they're just stressed, or I can fix them. Intelligence without boundaries becomes a tool of self-destruction. And manipulation isn't limited to relationships. It's everywhere, in politics, media, marketing, and social media. When an ad says only 3 left in stock, it's triggering your scarcity bias. When a politician says everyone agrees on this issue, they're using social proof to silence dissent. When an influencer says, people who don't understand this are asleep, they're manipulating identity through tribalism. It's not always evil, but it's always psychological. Influence becomes manipulation the moment it hides its intent. To understand the manipulator's mindset, you have to go deeper. Most manipulators don't see themselves as villains. They believe they're just surviving. They see control as protection. They tell themselves, if I don't play the game, I'll lose. Many were hurt before they learned to hurt. They confuse power with safety. They replace honesty with strategy. The tragedy is that in controlling others, they lose connection with themselves. They build relationships based on performance, not truth. They win control, but lose intimacy. They become powerful, but profoundly alone. The good news is, once you understand manipulation, you can defend yourself not through aggression, but awareness. Awareness cuts the strings. It starts with listening to your own confusion. When a conversation leaves you doubting your memory or feeling guilty for having boundaries, that's not intuition, it's interference. That discomfort is your mind saying, something's off. Listen to it. Next, create distance between emotion and response. Manipulation feeds on reaction. The faster you react, the easier you are to control. So slow down, don't rush decisions. Say, I'll think about it. Space creates perspective, and perspective gives power back to you. Learn to say no calmly. Manipulators feed on emotional turbulence, anger, tears, defensiveness. They twist emotion into guilt. But a calm no leaves them nothing to work with. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries. Reconnect with people who ground you. Isolation weakens awareness. Talk to friends who remind you who you are. Share your thoughts. Truth becomes stronger when spoken aloud. And finally, know your values. The easiest person to manipulate is the one who doesn't know what they stand for. When your boundaries are clear, no amount of guilt, charm, or fear can move you. Clarity is armor. But here's the hardest truth. Manipulation doesn't just exist in others. It lives in all of us in small ways. Every time we guilt someone to stay, every time we flatter to gain approval, every time we hide our real intentions behind kindness. It's uncomfortable to face, but essential. Because the only way to be free from manipulation is to stop using it ourselves. Self-honesty is the ultimate shield. When you understand your own emotional motives, your fears, your insecurities, you become harder to play. Because manipulation feeds on unconsciousness. Awareness disarms it. When you begin to see the psychology behind manipulation, you start noticing patterns everywhere. How people frame conversations. How ads appeal to fear or vanity. How politicians spin narratives to shape belief. It's unsettling at first. You start wondering, Is everything manipulation? But over time, it becomes liberating. Because once you see the strings, you're no longer controlled by them. You start making decisions slower. You start questioning pressure. You stop confusing guilt with responsibility. You no longer chase approval because peace feels better than validation. You begin to value people who speak truth over those who tell you what you want to hear. You realize that the strongest person in any room isn't the one who can control others. It's the one who doesn't need to. Manipulation thrives in chaos, in insecurity, in fear. It dies in calm clarity. That's why Stoicism is so powerful. It's not coldness, it's emotional sovereignty. The ability to feel deeply but respond deliberately. To choose truth even when it's uncomfortable. So if you've ever been manipulated, don't blame yourself. The fact that you can be influenced means you have empathy. It means you care. The goal isn't to shut down emotionally. It's to become aware emotionally, to feel fully but see clearly. Because in the end, the psychology of manipulation isn't just about darkness, it's about awakening. It's about learning how power moves, how words shape thoughts, how emotions can be engineered. Once you understand that, you stop being a puppet in someone else's play. You start writing your own script. The manipulators of the world will always exist, but they only thrive in the shadows. Awareness is light, and light reveals everything. So next time someone tries to guilt you into compliance or confuse you into doubt or flatter you into trust, pause, breathe. Remember what's happening. They're not connecting with you. They're programming you. And in that moment, the simple act of noticing is rebellion. Because the instant you see manipulation for what it is, it loses its power. True power isn't control over others. It's control over yourself. It's the quiet strength of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will no longer allow. That's the kind of strength no manipulator can touch, and that's the freedom of awareness. So walk carefully, but confidently. Speak gently, but with truth. Love deeply, but with boundaries. Let no one convince you that empathy and awareness can't coexist. They must. Because empathy without awareness is submission, and awareness without empathy is isolation. But together, they create wisdom. In the end, that's what breaks the cycle. Not revenge, not control, not manipulation of your own, but wisdom. Quiet, calm, unshakable wisdom. The kind that sees through charm. The kind that stays still in chaos. The kind that doesn't need to win, to be free. So when someone tries to pull your strings, remember this: you hold the scissors.